Hello. So thought I'd try doing a Game Week 21 review, Game Week 22 plans, and then I might talk a little bit about chip strategy again going forward, just some waffle, some more thoughts about that at the end of the video. So Game Week 21, I got a red arrow, 64 points, didn't go super great. It was a weird game week because I felt almost like I was behind before the game week even began. I got Palmer and Isaac playing against me. I still feel weird about EO when you have players who are over 100% EO who you haven't captained. It almost makes you feel like you wish you didn't have them. You only got 9 players playing for you. It's a really strange thing, except you have to have them, really. So that's annoying, but I guess it's part of the game. I had Wood playing against me, and on the first day I had like Nottingham Forest versus Liverpool all playing each other. So that wasn't ideal. So I felt like I was off to a bad start. I had 3.3 million in the bank, so all my money wasn't on my team. Don't know. I didn't get off to a good start, and then obviously Wood on the bench scored, Salah blank, clean sheet wipeouts, and then Raul Jimenez got well close to a goal. He's like a whisker away from his sock, wasn't it? Same with Gabriel, very very close to getting a goal. These guys going off, so it all just didn't really go well for me. I mean, these guys all returned for me: Munoz, Rogers, Sarr, and Gordon. So that was good. So that softened it a bit. Yeah, can't win them all though. Obviously, still had way too much rank that I deserve this season. So can't win them all, but so that's not too bad anyway. And one thing I was wondering is like, one thing is I don't know how other people follow the football and that, but I always follow it with these two, like Soccer Punter and Flash Score. So Soccer Punter is you have it's all. I don't know if you hear that. That's whenever somebody scores, you get these audio alerts. So I usually just choose the teams I'm following, stick it in my favourites, and you get audio alerts, so I can carry on doing something else, and then I come to Flash Score and find out who scored the goal. That's the way I follow it, and it's very annoying. I might need to find a new way of doing it because the Flash Score will flash up like Raul Jimenez or Gabriel scored a goal, and it's like you let it go to your head so quickly. Like you're so good when they score a goal, and then suddenly it gets moved to assist, downgraded to an assist, and then all of a sudden it's gone completely. Or you get VAR ruling it out, and it's that is bloody annoying when they do that. So yeah, part of the game, I guess. But that's annoying game week. Didn't go that great. But I'm not too displeased with it all. I don't think I regret captaining Salah. Obviously, hindsight regret I do, but he was top of my model still. And I think even though I knew Nottingham Forest defence was good, I felt that people were underestimating how good Liverpool were. Their XG had been like, it was over 3 in the last 6 game weeks. It's 2.9 now, but it was like over 3, which is really high. Any team that's over 2 is good. Any team under 1 is bad. So for them to be right up at over 3 was really good. And Salah's stats recently have just been crazy. He was on 1.78 XGI per 90. He's on to 1.63 now. Really, really high. And against Nottingham Forest, they still cooked up like 2 XG for the game, I think, Liverpool. And Salah got 1 XGI for the game, so he should have returned. So I think I was, a little bit unlucky. I think Palmer and Isaac did better, so they were the better choices. So fair play if you went for them. So I don't regret it too much. But one thing I am starting to think about when it comes to EO is I'm wondering if I've changed this season and whether it's a good thing. The start of the season, I went no Haaland, and he was like 100 and plus EO, smashing me, and I didn't care that much because I was just doing my own thing. In game week 7, I captained Saka, even though I had Haaland that game week, and I had a few comments about that, like saying that was brave, but I didn't consider that brave at the time. I was just going with my hunch and just hunching it. Whereas now, I feel like especially this is the first time I've ever had decent rank, and so I've been thinking about EO much more now, and I have been using it as a shield much more, and thinking about that as a strategy, as a strategical way of playing the game. And I think there's logic to it. I still think there is logic to it, but it kind of feels like a bit of a intuition killer, EO. I think sometimes if you generally, I pick the player who I think is going to score the most points. But the problem is there's sometimes there are 50-50s. Like this game week with Palmer, Salah and Isaac, they were very hard to choose between them. And usually if it's a 50-50, I would go for the low EO punt because I just think it's more fun. I feel like I'd rather do it my way rather than conform and just follow everybody else. It always feels like it's more personal when you do your own thing. It's more rewarding in the end because if you just follow the crowd the whole time, are you really doing your own thing, or do you really exist? It's that kind of feeling in life as well. I like to do my own thing, but now I've been starting to switch more towards high EO because of the rank and because I want to use it as a shield. But it's a bit of an intuition killer, I think, because the only reason I went for Salah and not Isaac was because Isaac was yellow flagged. But I was starting to, not the only reason, but I was starting to lean towards Isaac a little bit. And I wonder if me at the start of the season would have just gone for that. And so EO, it does kind of kill the intuition a bit more. Somebody on FPL, the fantasy website, tweeted about some guy who captained Ahmad as well. And it's like, there's such a kind of romance about this game, and there's some real fun and joy that gets lost if you start playing it too computerized, too EO. The using your intuitions can be a really nice, fun thing about the game. But then at the same time, it's a balance because sometimes your intuitions and your impulses get in the way, and data clears that out of the way for you sometimes. Recently I've been thinking about this expression, play it your own way, which I love. And I've always kind of thought, do play it your own way. It's a game, do what you want, play it your own way. It's great. But I've started to think with myself, the way I want to play it is the right way, not my way, because I get in my own way with my own impulses and intuitions and biases. I get in my own way, and that I feel like there's an objectively right way to play it out there. And it may be that you just have to conform to the data and be emotionless. That might be the right way to play. So I'm starting to think maybe that's the right way to play, but then you lose the romance and the intuition part of the game. So it's a weird balance between these two things I'm trying to figure out at the moment. How much should you go with the data and with the EO and playing sensible, and how much should you follow your own gut and your intuitions and things like this? So this is one of the things I love about FPL, and it's a really interesting game, and the things you learn in FPL kind of reflect in a wider sense to life as well. Like it's an interesting game, I think. So anyway, that's a waffle about EO. That's what I'm thinking. But for now, I'm just figuring it out as I go. So anyway, game week 22. Let's see, where are we? Hoping to roll, planning to roll. Team looks great. Don't think I need to do anything. Wood versus Southampton, Raul versus Leicester, Isaac and Gordon, Bournemouth at home, not going anywhere. Sarr versus West Ham, I'll have a bit of that. Palmer versus Wolves, Salah Brentford, looking great. Rodgers can be benched against Arsenal, that's fine. Defence looks fine. Sells Southampton, it's all looking good. Defence, Brentford away is tricky for Liverpool, but I can't bench Trent really, can I? And I don't think I'm going to overthink the defence. Let's have a look here. Clean sheet odds. This is my way of doing the clean sheet odds. If you base it on form, red is good. Hang on, what's just happened there? That shouldn't be doing that. That's better. So Nottingham Forest and Arsenal have the best clean sheet odds. So this is based on the XG of the opponents and the XGA of Arsenal last 6 game weeks form. So Arsenal, I think I'll play them against Aston Villa. So Aston Villa's attack has been really bad lately. XG last 6 game weeks, they're 5th bottom, 1.12. That is pretty crap. Now they've played pretty tough games: Nottingham Forest, Man City, Newcastle, but then also Brighton, Leicester, Everton. So yeah, they might be a little better, but they're not that great. So I'm sticking with him. Brentford. What else we got here? Liverpool. Liverpool's clean sheet chances don't seem massively good by this measure. Brentford do have a very good attack. They seem to. Last 6 game weeks, Brentford's attack that's not XG, that's XG, third best in the last 6 game weeks. Fairly tough. They've played Arsenal, City, and Nottingham Forest in that time as well, so that's a bit of a worry. So they do seem to have a pretty good attack there. I mean, 4.4 against Southampton. But then Trent is Trent. When I look at my model, game week 22, if you just look at defenders, I still think Trent's in the bunch. I think there's a bunch of defenders, all look good. Gabriel, Trent, Munoz, all in the top bunch. It's mainly Nottingham Forest defenders. So if you've got a Nottingham Forest defender or Sells, that's who you want. Chalobah's back at Chelsea, but I doubt he'll play. But you've got Man City, Newcastle, Fulham defenders all playing good fixtures there. So anyway, they're all in the bunch, and then defence. On the bench, Mikalenko and Lewis a bit further down. Lewis 3.22. If I compare him to Rodgers is 3.02. So they're all quite close, but it's just a little clue that maybe, because I was wondering about the bench order, I might actually play Lewis against Ipswich away ahead of Rodgers, just on the bench order. Hopefully I won't need him, but the ranking there, I wonder. Most people you would usually put the attacker, and he's got better minutes, Rodgers. But don't know. I feel like I might just put Lewis there. Don't know. I'll think about that. It's not a very important decision anyway. So that's the team. Hopefully rolling. Should be able to roll. And Salah cap for me. Salah cap again, because he's just far out ahead of everybody else still. So you got, these are the top 4 probably: Salah, Palmer, Chris Wood, and Isaac. Salah's just, his XGI is just so good. 1.63 in the last 6, 1.29 for the season. Isaac's got up to 1.54 in the last 6 now, so that's pretty good. But he gets less points for goals, less points for clean sheets. He's just fewer routes to points. So I think it's going to takes it off him a bit. The difference between Bournemouth and Brentford is not that much. So they're fairly even games. Bournemouth's defence a bit better than Brentford, but it's Brentford away. Yeah, Palmer's on about 1 XGI. He's perfectly fine against Wolves. They did beat them about, 6-2 or something earlier in the season. Does that mean they're going to do it again, or does that mean Wolves are going to tighten ship more this time and not let the goals in? Don't know. I don't think I'll go for Wood because his ceiling just always feels like it's 1 goal. His XGI is pretty rubbish. It's just Southampton's defence is so bad, so I'm not going for Wood. Yeah, so I think it will be Salah cap, Palmer vice for me. I won't overthink it too much. And the EO question, I still feel like I prefer higher EO for now. Pardon me. That still feels like the fact that he's going to be higher EO makes me feel a bit safer about that for now. So that's the hunch for that. Sorry, out of breath. So Salah is captain. That's game week 22. Not too difficult. But now I want to talk about chip strategy. So going forward, it's all very complicated to figure out. Where are we? So I think the last week or two, it went chip strategy mania, and I think I got kind of decision fatigue, and kind of it gets quite complicated trying to figure it all out. So much to think about. But the next thing we need to think about, if you just put it in order, I don't know what's the easiest way to think about this. This is easier probably looking at this. The next big thing is the Liverpool-Everton double coming up. Which Liverpool and Everton players do you want to bring into your team? For me, I think I can delay this decision until next game week because Sales has got a good fixture. I don't need to bring any Liverpool defenders in now. Brentford away is tricky. Don't need to bring any attackers in now. So that's fine. And then Everton, at the moment, I feel like I'm probably going to bring one more Liverpool in. I'm not sure who it is yet. And that's probably it. In terms of Everton, I was thinking possibly a McNeil if he's back, but it doesn't look like he's back. McNeil is still out is they've still got a bit of an issue. It says 25th of the 1st. What game week's that? 25th of the 1st. Maybe 23. He might be back. Keep an eye on him. And then there's Calvert-Lewin as well. What was I looking at? Calvert-Lewin, possibly. I would just keep an eye on them. They've got good fixtures starting now. Tottenham's defence is still a bit crap for now, isn't it? So you could bring him in now, but I just don't think I'm going to be doing that. I'm not in the market, but if anybody else is. Calvert-Lewin, should we see if he appears on my model anywhere? I doubt he does. Let's go game week 22 to 25 or something like that. So let's see if Calvert-Lewin appears. 1 second. Forwards. DCL, Calvert-Lewin, there he is right down there. So not very good. 0.34 XGI for the season, 0.19 recently. You're hoping for a miracle. You're hoping for a change here. He's quite a long distance from all the others. I mean, not massively, but only relatively good fixtures that they're considered. Brighton away is tricky, apparently. Brighton away is tricky, apparently. They must have got better recently. Brighton. Oh, look at that. 1.25 XGA in the last 90, Brighton. Maybe Brighton's defence getting a little bit better, possibly. Yeah, I'm not going Calvert-Lewin. But other people might want to do that. So it's one Liverpool. Which Liverpool I go for, I'm not sure yet. I'm going to wait one game week. I'm hoping something just makes it easy, my decision easy, and I can just go for a Gakpo, a Jota, a Diaz, and have a good time with that. But I suspect it's probably going to be a defender or a keeper. I've got Lewis sitting here. I don't really need him. I could easily just sell him to a Van Dijk or someone. I've got money in the bank. Just bring him in. Or I could go for Alisson as well as another option. One of the questions I'm thinking as well is, like, do you just bring him in for the double and then get rid of him? And is it worth it? Or how long do you bring him in for? I mean, Liverpool got this Ipswich and Wolves either side, so that's a nice little free game week run. I don't really like to bring players in to my team for less than like 3 or 4 game weeks, really. So that's a nice run for Liverpool there. Otherwise, if you just use a transfer for 1 game week, even if it's a double, then out again, it just feels like a waste of a transfer, that. Everton, I guess they got Brighton and Crystal Palace either side, maybe for attackers or defenders, maybe defenders, I don't know. Don't think I'll be going for Everton. So, yeah, I'll probably be bringing in a Liverpool player. And then it's who do you bring in? Could be a Van Dijk, could be an Alisson. There's something I really like about bringing in Alisson, because there's something very strategically elegant about bringing in Alisson, because he rotates nicely with Sales, and then in game week 29, sorry, not 59, game week 29, if I don't want a free hit, I can just bench Alisson and play Sales, and I don't have to transfer him back out again. He doesn't take up one of these 3 spots here. I like that, and sometimes when you're navigating doubles and blanks, it's nice to be able to kind of use that spot. Otherwise, it's just like a wasted spot. This goalie here, the second goalie. But the thing I don't like about it is that I'll be spending an extra 1.5 mil on this keeper, and that's a lot of money for my keepers, and keepers don't really generate many points, and so it just feels like that might be a waste of money to do that. And once I've done it, it's like I'm not going to want to undo it. I mean, I suppose I could undo it. One of my thoughts was to sell Lewis down to a 4.0 at some point, if I needed funds. I could just bring Alisson in for a few, and then if I need the funds, just sell him. Don't know. So I'll think about it. I just need to figure out what it's going to block, because I still need to leave the door open to Mbomo, possibly. Maybe Mateta, Jackson. I don't know. Don't want to shut too many doors. So yeah, that's what I've got to think. But I'll figure that out next week. So that's that. The next question is triple captain 25, or do you use the assistant manager? So it's 24. So you do triple captain 24 on Salah, or do you use the assistant manager? Which is better? And For me, I'm pretty sure it's triple captain 24, because the the difference between using your assistant manager in 24 to 26 or 31 to 33 or at the end is not that much different. If you're using it in a double, you're getting 4 rolls of the dice. I suspect the overall EV will be fairly similar. I think it'll probably actually get better the closer to the end of the season you use your assistant manager. Unless you want to play safe on slot, you might get better EV earlier, but I still think the fixtures are a little bit better for Liverpool later. I just think you're probably going to get better EV using your assistant manager later. And then with your triple captain, you've got Salah right now in a double. My model has him as about 18 EV. I don't like talking about EV that much. It's all a bit weird, but that's just a measure that I've put on it for now, an approximate measure. 18 points that he's predicted to get in that double, which is very good. And there's no guarantee you're going to get another double. The next best is like Trent, who's on about 10 points, 10 EV, so that's a very big jump. And the next best double, you might get some in 33 triple captains, but like an Isaac is only predicted maybe 12, 14 EV, something like that. You're not getting massive EV from other players, and there's no guarantees Salah will still be he might be injured here. Liverpool might not get a double. There's a lot of things that could happen. So triple captain 24, I don't want to overthink it too much. There is one scenario that some people have talked about, which I think is really interesting, which is that some people have talked about the possibility of Tottenham getting a double in 25. There's like a 10-20% chance of it. If they beat Liverpool in the EFL Cup, then there's a possibility they could get a double in 25. And would I use the assistant manager then? And I still think I wouldn't use the assistant manager. Some people have said if you've got 5 fixtures for the assistant manager, then it's a no-brainer. You definitely got to use it. But I'm not sure it is. So I want to get into that so I can kind of talk about you can get a sense of the relative value of each chip and stuff. Because I still think people are overestimating the assistant manager chip, is my hunch. It is powerful, but not as powerful as people say it is. But firstly, the Tottenham thing is interesting. So if you don't know, Tottenham are they're still in all the competitions. And basically, if they get to the FA Cup final, I think the idea is that whoever gets to the FA Cup final, that game fixture, will just get moved into 37 midweek. That's probably what's going to happen. But with Man United, with Tottenham, not Man United, because Man United are out of the EFL Cup, but with Tottenham, they can't. If they got to the Europa League final, then the fixture can't go into 37, which would mean that they would have to put that game week, bring it forward into 36. But then the FA Cup semi-final was supposed to go into 36, so they'd have to bring that one forward to 33. But then the EFL fixtures were supposed to go in 33, so they'd have to bring that one forward. And it's like, where do you bring it? So you get this kind of like effect where it's like, well, where do you put that then? And when it comes to fixture rescheduling, it's not so much about probability, it's about possibility. You may think it's very improbable that that's going to happen, but the fixture reschedulers have to work on the possibility that it could happen. Otherwise, because if it does, and it could, then they're screwed. So they have to kind of be proactive if they're doing their job properly. So some people have suggested it could go in 25. So basically, for it to go in 25, Spurs would have to beat Liverpool, which is, I don't know, 50-50 now, maybe probably less than 50-50. They'd also have to qualify for the top 8 in the top 8 of Europa so that they don't have to play in these 2 playoff rounds here. And at the moment, they're 9th. And I believe they have to just win if they win their last 2 games, they will probably finish in the top 8 because Man United play Rangers and FCSB, I think. And so these 3 will probably take points off each other. So as long as Tottenham win their last 2 games, they will probably finish in the top 8 is my hunch. And they're playing Elfsborg and Hoffenheim, which I don't know where Hoffenheim is there. Elfsborg and Hoffenheim, I think. So they probably should win those. So it's possible. It's possible if they beat Liverpool and they finish in the top 8 of Europa, then they'll have free midweek. We'll know whether they've got the free midweek, whether they finished in the top 8 of the Europa in game week 23. But and they may announce it. They may announce that if Spurs beat Liverpool, they'll get a double in 25. They may announce it. But all of this still feels very unlikely. They may not announce it until game week 24 has started. So if you're going to use the assistant manager, you'd have to play at 24 and just hope that they get the double in 25, which is not a given. They may not announce it until there. You've still got 2 weeks, which is short notice, but they've done it in the past. So they could put it in 25. But I also think, and I think James from Planet FPL was alluding to this, which is that I think they'll take their chances and delay it and hope that Tottenham just get knocked out. I think they'll at least wait for these round of 16s, because I was thinking they could potentially put it in 31, because they could do a Friday Monday kind of thing. They could. I don't know how feasible this is, how likely, but you can play FA Cup Saturday, game week 30 on the Tuesday, and then do a Friday Monday and 31, and then you've got a Thursday fixture there. So you can actually make it all. You could make it work, and even though it's unlikely in a desperate situation, the Premier League could have the power to do that. You know, the TV rights companies might not be happy about it, but they've got the buck stops with the Premier League, I would have thought, at the end of the day. I don't know how much sway the TV companies have. Maybe they have more sway than I realised, but I don't know. So I just think that that's a possibility. I feel like they're more likely to just wait and see, and then Tottenham will probably get knocked out, and then they'll be like, problem solved, no worries. And even worst case scenario, they just do a triple game week here, which they've done before. So firstly, I don't think it's even likely that Tottenham are going to get a double anyway. We might not know before game week 24 either. And then the interesting thing for me is that I don't know that it's necessarily better to play your assistant manager even with 5 fixtures, because you've got two things going on. You've got Spurs are playing. You got what have we got going on? You got firstly, your assistant manager in 25. You're going to have to, instead of playing it on slot against Wolves at home, which is a very good EV kind of use of the chip, you're going to be playing it on Tottenham or Fulham. Well, it's probably going to be Fulham. You're going to have to play it on, because Fulham are playing Nottingham Forest at home, which is a table bonus game. If you use it on Tottenham, they're playing Man United at home and then Fulham away, and they'll be safe games. If you don't really want to, if you're going to play safe, you don't really wanting to use it on a crap team. Now it is better EV. I think the odds will be something like, I don't know the odds, but if I just put a third for every one, you might get about 5 EV. So Tottenham, if you used it on Tottenham, you'd have 2 5s, that's 10 EV. And again, EV might be annoying for some people to talk about, but it's just a measure. It's just a number to try and put a number on it. Whereas Liverpool against Wolves, I don't know if 90% is too high. Maybe 90% is too high, but 90% you've got 9 EV there. If it was 80%, you might get 8 EV, something like that. So you're only 2 EV below Tottenham if you were to use it on Tottenham. Whereas when you compare it to Salah, as a triple captain on Salah, Salah's EV is like 6 or 8 points more than the next best. So you're getting more points by going with Salah and using your assistant manager later on. You could go for Fulham, and if Fulham had like 2 average games, they would have Nottingham Forest at home and then Tottenham at home. So I don't know, that they'd be something like this. It might be a bit less than that, but it could be a 10 and a 5, which would be like 15 EV, versus maybe an 8 or 9 for Liverpool. So that's like 6 or 7 EV better. So maybe that's a bit more comparable. Yeah, you could go for that and then try to use your triple. But then, yeah, I still, I don't know. That's a bit tighter. Maybe you could go for that. But it's a bit more even. And I still feel like I would just use it later. Yeah, I don't know. It would have to be, it's very unlikely. It would have to be announced for me. If they actually announce it before game week 24, then I might, and I'd use it on Fulham. But probably not. And I think it's close. So anyway, anyway, for me, it's 99% chance I'm just triple captaining in 24. I'm not going to overthink it. It's not the best double game week for Liverpool. Bournemouth away, Everton away, but I don't know. We'll see. Everton away, they're going to show up, but then maybe Liverpool will be up for it as well. And Bournemouth, I feel like their injuries, they might start to stutter a little bit. Yeah, I think I'll stick with it. So that's that. And then the only other things to think about is, so going forward, it'd be nice to know what I plan to do in 29 so I could, when it comes to transfers, I can start, if I'm going to free hit in 29, then I don't have to worry about what transfers I do. But if I'm going to try and dead end into 29 or get through it, I need to think about slightly different transfers. And at the moment, I am still open to free hitting in 29. I've actually started leaning that way, just based on the fact that if you're going to do wildcard 30, free hit 34, bench boost 36, which was my main strategy before, which is still the most popular strategy, I just don't like the number of transfers you got to use. You really want to go into game week 30 with 5 free transfers, so you can use transfers for your assistant manager, transfers to do the flip flop from 33 to 36, transfers just in case you get injuries for your bench boost in 36. And to get 5 free transfers in game week 30 for your wild card, you're gonna have to have 5 free transfers from back here somewhere, and then just every transfer you just use one, and then so you've always got 4 or 5 transfers to get through this double here, and then always just rolling, just using one transfer at a time and rolling 4 or 5 transfers every game. So that, and even here, so you're going to have to be starting to sort out game week 29 in these surrounding game weeks, preparing for it, so that you can get to 5 free transfers for game week 30. Now, you might just say, well, sod it, I won't have 5 free transfers for game week 30, but I think you're going to want you're going to want a lot. You're going to want 3 or 4, I think, or 2 or 3. So that just, it's something about that just feels unelegant, not quite right. Whereas if you wildcard in 35, is it 35? Yeah, 35. If you wildcard in 35, you don't need any transfers to do the flip flop from 33 to 36, because we're probably going to get different doublers if we do. You won't need transfers for that, so you're saving yourself a load of transfers there. You won't need transfers for bench boost backups in case you get injuries for your bench boost, because it's just the next game week afterwards. That's fine. And so it just feels much more organic to just run hot all the way right up to 33, assistant manager here. And then it's just that 34. You just have to sacrifice 34 and try to get through it as best you can. Yeah, that's the only problem. But I'm leaning that way now, so I'm open to free hitting in 29. We can't. This is the tricky thing with trying to figure it all out. We just can't figure it out until those results happen in game week 24. So I guess it would benefit me to try to stay flexible so that I can potentially move one way or another if it comes to it. So there's that. Another thought is, if you haven't listened to James from Planet FPL, it is Chip's pod. It's really, really good to listen to. There were so many things I just forgot, and he just reminded me of. 2 big things in particular: the power, the influence of Man United and Tottenham that I'd forgot about because they're in the Europa League, and how that affects things, and also people getting knocked out of the FA Cup, and how that can kind of affect where the doubles fall. Because at the moment we're kind of thinking whatever blanks in 29 is going into 33, and whatever blanks in 34 goes into 36. But it's actually a little bit more complicated than that. So yeah, as he said, so Man United and Tottenham, because they're still in the Europa League, if they were to get into the FA Cup final as well, because they're both in the FA Cup still, then the FA Cup final would have to go into couldn't go into 37. It can't go into 37. And remember, they have to operate on possibility rather than probability. And therefore, the semi-finals would have to go into... so the final would have to go into 36, which means the semi-finals would have to go into 33. There's probably a whole complicated knock-on effect of how that will affect things. And it will probably make it a lot more complicated. And I haven't figured it all out, so James would know more about that. But so that makes it not so certain that the doubles from 34 would go in 36. Some of them might go in 33, and things like this. They might get flipped around a bit. So that affects when the best bench boost will be. It might not be 36. It could be 33. So that affects things. So maybe you do want a wild card 30, set up to a bench boost 33. It's all a bit hairy. And then the FA Cup thing. Yeah, this is something else is interesting. It's like if two teams are out of the FA Cup, like look at Chelsea and Arsenal. Arsenal are out of the FA Cup. Chelsea are playing Brighton away. If Chelsea were to get knocked out of the FA Cup and Arsenal beat Liverpool in the EFL, Arsenal beat Newcastle in the EFL semi-finals and got to the final, then that Chelsea-Arsenal game that would be a blank there could just go there. Or even there. It probably wouldn't get brought forward to there, but it could do. But it would probably just go there. So it might not actually be a blank, even if they got to the final. Or it might still be a blank. They could just put it in 33. So it's all a bit... That affects things as well. So I guess the conclusion from all of that is that there's a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of unknowns. And so when it comes to trying to figure out your chip strategy, it is, people saying roll transfers and have flexibility. I think that probably is the best thing right now, to just try and stay open, because there's a lot we don't know. So I'm just trying to kind of get a sense of the value of things as well. I want to just try and get a sense of how to measure it. How to measure what's the best way to do things. There's two things I want to talk about. One is the amount of value you lose on your players if you sell players here. If you don't free hit and you sell players, because that's something I'm thinking about. Is loads of my players have got so much value in now. Like Wood is what's that, 0.8 mil there, 0.5 for Isaac. Rao and Sarah easy to sell, but then Gordon's up to 0.5 in him, 1.1 in Salah. What's that? 0.6 in Palmer, 0.5 in Rodgers. Loads of them. There's only a few that I could sell. Gabriel I'd probably keep. Sales I'd want to keep. Got value in them. So I don't really want to sell any of my players. Like there's not many I'd want to sell. So I need to think about when's the best way to get rid of them. If you do it in Game Week 29, you don't have as much value in them, but then you're running your team for a longer period with less team value. I like the idea of just keeping my team running really hot with lots of team value, and then if I take a value hit here in 34, I've only got to survive for 4 game weeks. Unless you can bench. It's complicated. I've got to figure it out. So that's one thing I need to figure out. And then another thing is bench boosts. Bench boosts I feel like they're going to be tempting. I've got this idea of having this 15 doublers and it's going to be beautiful and powerful and everything. And it's just, I don't think it's likely to actually end up like that. It's probably going to be a bit of a disappointment. It was last season as well. I only ended up with about 12, 13 doublers. It was all a bit meh. And one way I've been trying to get a sense of this as well is how to talk about this actually. Because one I've heard some people talk about what's best, assistant manager or bench boost. What should you prioritize? And again, I think people are overestimating the assistant manager, and so they say, you prioritize assistant manager over everything. If 36 is the best time to use it in 36, 37, 38, and that's what you should do. And then bench boost in a subordinate game week. But theoretically, the assistant manager, EV wise, using it in 36 at the end rather than 31, you might only get like 1 EV per game. So if you're using it over 4 games, you might get 4 EV. This is just my rough measure of it. 4 EV. But you're not getting any extra rolls of the dice. Still getting 4 rolls of the dice whether you use it in 31 or 36, and you get over a double. But you might get 4 extra EV. Whereas if you bench boost with 15 doublers rather than 12, you're talking about 3 extra rolls of the dice full rolls of the dice. Now, there might not be very powerful rolls of the dice sitting on your bench, these 3 extra players with extra fixtures. But even if they're just 3 or 4 EV each, that's 9 to 12 EV versus 4 EV. So, like, if you can use a system manager here, 31 to 33, and take a 4 EV hit instead of doing it there, but then you gain a 9 or 12 EV hit by having 15 doublers instead of 12, then theoretically, that to me makes more sense to just use your bench boost there. So I don't think the assistant manager is as powerful as people might think, but that's theoretical. In actual practical reasons, in reality, I keep pressing that. In reality, the bench boost is never quite as good as we think, and we don't have this perfect spectrum of players at every single price point and stuff. What we have is for every team, there's only 10 to 10, 11, 5 to 10 picks or something from each team. So this is my rough way of working it out. I went through each team just trying to figure out who might be a pick. Just, the ones that are actually possible picks that I might pick. And I looked at their rough prices just to kind of get a sense of it. And one big conclusion is just that teams like Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal are very expensive. So if you've got double game weeks that involve Liverpool and Arsenal and Man City, then you're probably going to struggle to get a decent bench boost out. You might not get to 15 doublers. So it depends on that a little bit. Chelsea have got cheap defenders but expensive attackers, which is basically just Palmer, maybe Jackson. And so, I was trying to just get a sense of the price of the teams and how to work this out. I haven't thought this all the way through yet, but so I haven't thought that all the way through. But so when we start figuring out who's likely to double and who's likely to blank and all this kind of stuff in these 33 and 36, it may be the case that a bench boost might not work out quite how we think it is. I think I need more thought. I haven't figured it fully all out yet. But when the rubber meets the road and you're actually picking the players and you get your team, it might be quite hard, especially if Man City get a double. You're going to want Haaland in there, and then all of a sudden your bench boost is just going to be naff. When that's going to be tricky to figure out. I think I need to give that more thought. So that's it though, isn't it? That's all my thoughts. So triple captain. Liverpool, Everton, probably going to bring one more Liverpool in. Alisson, Van Dijk, something like that. Maybe a Gakpo. Then triple captain, very likely. Try to roll as many as I can. Very open to a free hit 29 at the moment. Kind of like it, but we shall see. If I can get through it without it, I will. And then we're going to know a lot more as we go along. We're going to know a lot. We're going to know who's blanking game week 24 in 29 in game week 24. We're going to have the FA Cup. We're going to know a lot more about the FA Cup in game week 24 as well. So that's going to be a very good game week 24. It's not too long away. Then another little clue here, and we will know the full picture by game week 30. Yep. So that was a big old waffle. I will leave it there, I think. I think that's all my thoughts. Okay, I'll leave it there. Thanks for listening. See you later. Bye-bye.